Hello, Garland Nixon here, hanging out with Matt Weinglass, who is live from the Los Angeles area. There are indications that it ain't over, shall we say, in that it ain't over in Iran. Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon, hanging out with Matt Weinglass, the homeless left on Rumble, and I believe it's THL Presents on YouTube. All right, Matt, we got a lot to talk about, but let's start here. And I'm not gonna play it, but I'm gonna show you from Donald Trump's Truth Social post, right? So he's got this video, and this video is this bomb Iran video that he's playing. Now, this is after the peace president has had, basically over the last couple of weeks, he, lied and said he was working on a peace deal, right? The peace president was working on a peace deal, and we found out that he utilized that peace deal for a clandestine and sneak attack on another country, doing exactly what he said he wasn't going to do. He has, when he had solid information from intelligence that said, look, the reason you're claiming you want to bomb ain't there. Who cares? I'm bombing anyway, right? And then he came back, oh, peace, we got a great deal. Nobody could do it but me. I'm the peace president. Okay. Now, a bomb, Iran, right? So, we get these contradictory messages, but here's my point. Contradictory in a way, but in a way, there's something consistent. And that is, we see Iran as an adversary and we want to destroy them. And even when we say peace with Iran, we got to come back later in a couple hours and say we want to bomb Iran. So it seems to me that the peace president ain't all he's cracked up to be, and that the crosshairs of the imperial machine are still aimed squarely at Tehran. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, Trump's inconsistency throughout this entire fiasco is the only consistent part of the fiasco itself, and that's, I think, by design, and that's why he was hand selected by the deep state that he claimed to be fighting against through the campaign season. One of the things we've been looking at on our show throughout the process, and what he called the 12-day war in an earlier tweet he put out there. And again, let's be clear, he's the one that announced this before anybody did. And then the mainstream got on board when he said it's over. We got the deal. We got the ceasefire. It's done. And he started packaging it. We're going to call this the 12-day war. Well, clearly it's not the 12-day war. Everybody knows it's not a 12-day war. But the point is he's been like a junkyard dog out there with these tweets. And this new one is absolutely concerning. But tomorrow there's going to be another one that'll contradict this one. And so I think that the junkyard dog analogy is very important, because we can still kind of debate on who's in charge here. I happen to think, and we've debated this on our show too with some of our guests, but I happen to think that he's still on a leash, and the leash is being controlled by Israel, by Netanyahu. So you let him off, you let him kind of wander around, putting out these crazy tweets, and then he gets reeled back in. And I fully believe that Israel is still calling the shots on everything. Every time Trump has to reposition, it's because he's being pulled on that leash, and then he's let out a little bit more again, and then he has to do. That's why we're seeing these contradicting tweets, like this. And again, it's very concerning. Doing this kind of mocking with this song in the background, the bomb Iran song, which we've been hearing this play out ever since John McCain was singing it and dancing it on the stage when he was running for president back in 2012. So very concerning time, but he's certainly the handpicked person to be the mouthpiece for this time we're in. And it does keep people divided on both sides, and they're at each other's throats. We see it on the left and particularly on the right now. Everybody kind of going at each other about what's really happening versus what's not happening.
Yeah, I think you're right. And what's interesting now is, look, it's clear with this video, it's clear with the thing that Donald Trump is saying, the crosshairs are on Iran. So will they attack Iran again when they feel that they're strong enough again? Will they just continue terrorist attacks against Iran, trying to ways to undermine Iran, whatever the case may be? But it's clear that there is a cessation of hostilities. I wouldn't even call it anything else other than that. I wouldn't call it a peace deal. I wouldn't call it a ceasefire. I'd call it a cessation of hostilities. Right now, they are not firing at each other, but Israel makes it clear that they're still going after Iran. And let me throw this at you. When I say Netanyahu, what I mean is collective Netanyahu, not him as an individual, right? Because what that would imply is that if he dropped dead of a heart attack tonight, that all those things would change. I mean the Netanyahu element in Israel, which is the leadership of Israel, the fascist leadership of Israel, but also the fascist leadership of the United States, the people that are the diehard Zionist neocon who are all aligned, right? So I think when I say Netanyahu, people will sometimes, I've talked to people and say, so you think he's behind it all? And I don't mean him. Because if he dropped dead tomorrow, nothing would change. I mean that element that is aligned with his way of thinking. And a lot of them are right here in Washington, D.C., or it couldn't happen.
Yeah, no. And that's a very important distinction you're making there, Garland. And I think we have the same problem here. We kind of fall into that same trap when we start saying Trump's doing this, Trump's doing that, when really he's representing the exact same deep states that's been doing this stuff the whole way. He's just very loud about it. And that's why it's, and this is, again, by design, because it makes people go into that bad apple mindset. And the bad apple mindset is a very dangerous place to go, because it's gone. You go into it with good intentions, but you come out the other side defending the thing that you should be challenging, because it's just, hey, let's get rid of the one guy, and then everything will go back to normal. That system that we know and love and cherish, just get that uniquely bad apple out of there. So we have the same, we do fall into that trap with Trump, and we don't want to fall into that trap with Netanyahu, but we say them by name because they're the voice, the mouthpiece right now. But yes, we have to point this out. It's the entire philosophy, the entire system that they happen to be representing, and they will certainly replace it with the next one when this person's out. So that's something to keep a broader perspective on.
You know, one of the things that I think is important, and this is something I think we have to discuss about that's happening, and that is that this business about, okay, Trump is the peacemaker versus Trump is the warmonger, implies that Trump has all the power. So you had a lot of MAGA people who were, I would argue, coming down to earth. We've been schnookered, we've been took. And I'm thinking, that's pretty much every 4 years if you vote for one of these slobs. You know, Obama, oh, I'm coming in to do peace. The guy literally got like a Nobel Peace Prize, and he came in and started war after war, bombing, killing, you name it. Okay. So now Trump, being the Republicans' version of Obama, he comes in and he's the peace candidate, and he schnookers them like everybody else. Okay. So you get all of these MAGA people, they're mad. Oh, we've been had. Great. I'm thinking you're moving in the right direction. So they get this little cessation of hostilities, nothing more. A whole bunch of them suddenly do a 180. Oh, see, Trump was the one who got this. Trump did that. You see, he was misleading the deep state all along so he could do this. Oh, he did that bombing, that fake bombing all along just so he can do this. Now they want to believe so bad. They want to believe that Donald Trump is the peace president so bad that even when he defies everything that he stood for, lies through his teeth to them, damn near some way skates out of starting another massive Middle Eastern war temporarily, and then still says, I'm going to carry the damn war on anyway. They're like, they're like breathing a sigh of relief, trying to find a way in their mind to twist this information so they can somehow get back to that comfortable area they were, saying Donald Trump's the peace guy. He's different. He's fighting the system.
It's very troubling to watch this, Garland. I have to say it is this tribal mindset. And once you get out of the tribal mindset, you can recognize this type of behavior very, very clearly. It sticks out like very easily. And you see these the Trumpers, they're grasping to hold on to this idea, and it seeps out beyond their own mind and their own like psychoses. They go in an attack mode, and we saw this immediately. Like when Trump tweeted that out about, we have a deal, we have a ceasefire, it's done. In 6 hours from now, everything stops. This is done. So not only did they celebrate, we were right, they went into attack mode to the other MAGAs that were calling this out. They were attacking Tucker, attacking Candace, attacking Ian Carroll, attacking everybody, and said, where are you now? Where's the apology to Trump? And we're sitting here going, what are you guys doing? Like, you sound like the establishment libs going after us when we were saying what Joe Biden's only ending the Afghanistan war so he can funnel money into the Ukraine war. And like, you have to stop protecting the establishment and fighting with it and like being very, very rude and mean. What do you mean apologize to Trump? What are you talking about? Because he put a tweet out? You guys know very well, everybody knows that Israel breaks ceasefires all the time. So even if this tweet was 100% accurate, by the way, we didn't even know if it was because he didn't show us any paperwork. Where's the signature on this ceasefire? You just tweeted it. Okay, we'll take it for face value. It's a legitimate deal. But why are you attacking each other in MAGA land when we know that Israel breaks ceasefires all the freaking time? That's what they do. So just stay cool. We know you want the best for your leader. We know you want it, but don't attack other people who are doing the thing they're supposed to do, which is challenge and hold people accountable, especially the people they vote for. That's what we should have been doing the whole time on the left. So you should be giving props to those in MAGA town that are challenging and questioning their leader, because if they don't do it, who else will?
Another mistake, I think, this is my opinion. A lot of people take different positions on Israel. There are some people that say it's an independent actor and it's an agent. You know, it has its own agency and it's in charge. I see things very differently. And I think that one of the mistakes that MAGA is making, in my opinion, is to say Israel is the miscreant. Israel's over here doing terrible things, and they're dragging the United States in as though the United States wouldn't do anything like that. I mean, before Israel, certainly the United States never did anything bad. We were all good, and somehow the Israelis somehow misled us into doing very evil things. And it's the dog wagging the tail. I mean, the tail wagging the dog.
Yeah,
that's against all the principles of physics. Tails don't wag dogs. That doesn't happen. That's a euphemism used, but it's not reality in the universe. In the history of this world, there's never been an empire, not the Roman Empire, not the Persian Empire, the Ottoman Empire, that had one little city that they took over and that city ran them. No, that's not the way it works. Israel is flying U.S. planes and dropping U.S. bombs. They're being refueled by U.S. tankers. Who's paying for the fuel, paying for the bombs, paying the pilots? Israel has free college. Israel has health care, all paid for the United States. Israel, I would like to say it's the 51st state, but it's much more privileged than any state. And my opinion is this: Israel doesn't do a damn thing that the United States doesn't tell them to do. That we go out there and we can have plausible deniability. Oh, we didn't want to do that, but Israel's so crazy, they dragged us into it. I never believed that. I believe if the U.S. government wanted Netanyahu gone, he'd be gone in an hour. They keep him there because he is so a mad, crazy person. That's what they want. It gives them a little bit of clearance. It gives them cover to do crazy shit and then say, oh, well, he's just a crazy leader. But well, if you pay all of their bills, you provide everything with him, you do all of this stuff, but then he's the crazy person, well, you're in charge. You could easily stop him, but they don't, because he is the cover, in my opinion. He's the cover for the U.S. empire. And the Zionism, which is nothing but fascism, which is part of the ideology of the U.S. empire. But your thoughts on, to me, I think a lot of MAGA people, look what Israel did. Israel did this. Israel did that. Israel's doing this. Israel's dragging Trump. Israel's forcing Trump. It's exactly what the empire wants. They don't have to take responsibility for what they're doing. You can blame them and say, well, Trump wants to do well. But Israel's up. I don't buy it.
You know, Garland, I'm more on the fence on this one, and I like to keep the option open that it's the other way around or a little of both. And let me explain. The idea that you have an entire Congress, entire Washington D.C. set up in a way where the elected officials have to give some sort of allegiance to this foreign entity, and when they're confronted about that allegiance, they either go silent, walk away, or double down on it. They never are willing to put America first when they're asked directly, who is more important to you, the American people or Israel? And they can't say the American people. And it's hard for me to fully go in on this idea that we're the ones at the top controlling this narrative, controlling everything. If that were the case, why does it look like that all of our elected officials, all of our elected leaders seem to be being held at gunpoint every time they're asked about this? And you saw what happened at the New York mayor race, and we saw Mandani has now won the race. Everyone's freaking out about this, calling him this radical lefty socialist. We know that drill. We know that game. But the key moments is him on that stage. And we're seeing this. Was it this moment that freaked them all out? How dare you not answer this question when you're asked on a stage in New York for the mayor race? Where's the first place you're going to visit when you get elected mayor? And every one of them, Cuomo and all the rest of them, say, "Well, Israel. I got to go to Israel." And he's the only one that said, "I'm going to visit the people in New York because that's my job." And that whole room was like, "How dare you? How could you say that?" And so the fact that Washington, D.C. and our entire media is up in arms about this guy, it's not because he's a radical. They know he's not a radical communist. That's not going to change our capitalism in place. They're going nuts because he didn't put Israel first. That's so to me, when I step out and I look from the outside in, if we weren't captured and we were actually controlling everything, I think the politicians could be a little bit more, at least pretending, at least they can give us like what we want to hear and say, of course we put the Americans first. Of course we do. Why would you think anything else? So that's why I have to stay a little skeptical on who's wagging which tail and which dog. It could be a combo, but I can't say that we're the ones at the top controlling everything. The way it looks like when you talk to these people and they can't give you a direct answer.
Well, and I understand what you're saying. And it's because it's what I see Israel as. Okay. I see it like this. The U.S. empire, the actual ideology of the U.S. is empire. That everything has to go to the empire. All money, we got 900 bases. They don't tell us nearly. When you look at the intelligence operations that are going on all over the world, find a country where it's not right now. Right, Bolivia, they're trying to overthrow the government. Colombia, they're trying to overthrow the government. Peru, I've already overthrown the government. Pakistan, they've overthrown. I go on and on and on. Right. Imagine the amount of money that it takes to run this empire around the world. Right. If that's why we're $37 trillion in debt, because there's unlimited money to run the empire. Right. And the empire dies. The empire does not exist if we don't have a gigantic military and intelligence base in the middle of the oil fields. We don't have that. We don't have an empire. The empire dies. I think the people whose ideology is empire understands that that oil is the lifeblood of industry worldwide. And if you don't control oil, especially now more so than ever that you're getting weaker and you can't control anything else, you got to kind of try to control the area. And then maybe you can get that oil. You can't go head to head and fight China. They wanted to go to war with China. They're starting to say our military ain't what it used to be. We can't fight China, really. But if we can take the oil field off, we can choke them out. We can choke everybody out if we get those oil fields, right? Completely get them, right? And the only thing that allows us to have empire right now, the last vestige of true power, is to have that gigantic imperial military outpost in the oil fields. And if we lose those, we're screwed. So that is the only thing that matters. That if I'm a member of Congress, I have this privileged life. Why? Because we're an empire. And I get all this stuff, money laundering, everything as a result of us being an empire. That empire goes, all of this crap goes for me. All of my privileges, all the things, all the power, all the money that gets handed to me under the table, all that's gone if we lose Israel. So my thing is, one way to put it is Israel controls the US. Okay. Another way to put it is the people who are the managing this empire understands that the one thing they can't lose, they have to keep going, is Israel, or the whole house of cards collapses. So that's why I say, if Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, Smotrich, and all of them were killed in one missile strike, not one thing would change. They'd put a new Netanyahu, a new Ben Gvir, and a new Smotrich would suddenly appear. And every policy that we have to try to overthrow Iran, to overthrow everything, would completely, if they had to bring them from Brooklyn to put them in there, it wouldn't matter. Not a thing would change, because it's not who's running Israel, it's what Israel is. It is an imperial outpost, and it is the most important imperial outpost. It is it. This dies, the empire dies. I think that's the way they see it. So I think it's how you put it. You could say Israel controls the US, but you could state it other ways. It does, because no Israel, no US empire.
There's also one thing that would say no US empire, and that's if we probably have to look at the money. This is the so you look at the privatizing of the banking system decades ago. This is where we lost control. You're giving all your, so what are we at? Over 30 trillion in debt right now. So who controls that? Who are we in debt to? So all these banks, Rothschild families, who's controlling all these banks? Who's controlling all this? And then you look in the Middle East and you say, well, why on top of the Greater Israel Project, which is very much about this biblical scripture, right to, chosen ones, right to this land. So you got that part, but you also have the money part. And you're like, well, why do they want the regime change war in Iran? Who wants it more, the US or Israel? Who's controlling the money? They want to privatize the banking system in Iran as well. And that's why you get the regime change. So who's controlling it? I guess, again, we're back to the who's wagging which tail and which dog, but we are beholden to the people we owe the money to. So wherever that goes to, kind of shows us, how do we keep this empire? We have to stay in line with that thing that controls our debt. And so this is why we have to support regime change all across the Middle East, because then you instill a new government. You put them into debt. So you put Iran into debt with you get the representative from Israel being the new president. You put them all together, rack up a new debt, and now they are beholden to the same bankers that we are. And that's why we say all wars are banker wars. And there you are. So maybe we're both kind of saying the same thing, because we end up with the same conclusion. And that's the people running the system. It doesn't really matter the face of the operation. They're going to do the thing they're going to do anyways. And here we are, still left divided and confused about what's happening every day as we go down our Twitter feed. Yeah,
I think you're right. It is a nuanced discussion, but the issue is not how you state it. It's that you understand who's really in charge. You know what I mean? And that we understand where the real power comes from, in the same way that I would say, people that say Trump this, Trump that, I'm like, Trump's power is extremely limited. From a PR perspective, it appears that he has power, but I don't think he has nearly the power people think. And let me show you something. If you want to see how the game is played, watch this. You see how the game is played? The largest individual company in the world is Saudi Aramco, the Saudi Arabian oil company, right? BlackRock named Saudi Aramco CEO Amin Nasser to board. Amin Nasser, the CEO of Saudi Aramco, the world's largest oil company, is joining the asset manager board of directors. The world's largest asset manager said the move reflects the firm's emphasis on the Middle East as part of its long-term strategy. BlackRock had more than $8 trillion in client assets under management as of 2022. All right. You see how the game's played, buddy?
BlackRock,
You know what I mean? And you wonder why Saudi Arabia is going along with this or that. They know how to play the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so yeah, no, Trump doesn't have any power at all. I think maybe that's the way you get people connected, because we talked earlier about the infighting and the you were wrong, we were right. You know, how dare you? At the end of the day, if everyone can agree on one thing, that there's something behind the scenes that you can't really do much about, maybe we could at least give the benefit of the doubt that Trump gave it a shot. He just can't do it. But, you know, what are you going to do? What are you going to do when you're being told every day, you got to do this, you got to do that? Like, I mean, I want to remind people, Trump said we had nothing to do with that initial attack that when Israel targeted the negotiators. He went after Israel went after the negotiators in Iran and killed them. The lead negotiator that was supposed to be at that table, his name was Shimkhani. Shimkhani and his family were murdered right before they were supposed to sit down with Trump at the negotiating table, along with the three other negotiators, all dead. And Trump said, "Well, I didn't know about it." And the next day, he had to change it because everybody aligned and said, "No, you did know about it." He said, "Oh, I got it. Okay, yes, I did know." And then Netanyahu doubles down and says, "We love Trump because he knows how to fake everyone out." And he said he didn't know on purpose so he could then reposition. And he's such a good president. And so there's this idea that he's on this leash and he has to keep repositioning himself based on his top-down orders that he gets when he wakes up in the morning every day. And he goes, "Oh, now what do I have to do?" So that's kind of what I'm seeing. Now, look, I know you said earlier that you know, Trump's the one that's kind of going back and forth on his own, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think that somebody that cares so much about his legacy, so much about, you know, his narcissistic, you know, delusions of grandeur, that he's going to be this peace president. I think he would not be doing these things unless he was forced to do them. That's my take right now. And I could be wrong, but it seems like there's something else going on here. And if we could connect that message with people, they would stop going at each other's throats and say, hey, maybe there's something here that he doesn't actually have control of. And we all need to get concerned about and look into a little more closely.
Yeah. Oh, I don't even to me, it's a joke for somebody to think Donald Trump's in charge. You know, you look at Ronald Reagan, his second 4 years, he didn't even know anything. He was, you know, completely Alzheimer's. He didn't know he slept through the meetings. He wandered aimlessly. Joe Biden did that for 4 years. I mean, he didn't know what the hell was going on. You saw him. Joe Biden. I mean, literally, did you see other people? Remember that video? And there were people when they were playing and they're dancing, right? And they're all clapping and everybody's dancing and they're clapping. And they showed Joe Biden, everybody around them, and Joe Biden's like this. Who did I shake hands? Where's that guy that I'm supposed to shake hands? You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, if anybody thought that any president was in charge, that is all you need to see.
You know, Garland, if you were telling people that the president of the United States had mental decline and had a serious issue, if you said that too early, you were basically not only called a Trumper, you were called an ageist. Remember that? You were an ageist for being a little bit skeptical that our president had his mental capacity enough to not just clap on beat, but knew where to go when it was time to go off stage, and the way he would walk with the little tiny steps. No, how dare you, Garland? How dare you, Matt? That's called a stutter. How dare you, you ageist? But then it was okay, right? Then all of a sudden, when they said it was okay to say there was something wrong, then it was fine. So yeah, I remember that. Let's not forget that they did that to us when we pointed that out. But
but you know, my point there is, it's not. That tells us that the president isn't in charge.
That's
that
right.
They'll stick some avatar out there, be it Biden, Trump, whoever the hell. I'm pretty convinced that Obama was a CIA plot more than anything else. But they'll stick some avatar out there and try to convince us. Like I put it like this, and you've heard this lately. We've got to get on board with and I mean people that I like, people that I have a lot of respect for, people that I listen to. We got to get on board with impeaching Trump. And my thing is this. You don't really understand how the system works after all, do you? If you think that some sideshow of impeaching Trump is going to make any difference at all. And you know what it'll do? Actually, the system will love it, right? Because they get to run that on the news while they slaughter Palestinians, while they try to start a World War III with Russia and China, while they, cut everything in the budget that goes to poor people and more tax cuts for the rich. They do all of their devious things. The whole news cycle 24/7 will be about the impeachment of Trump. And then you won't even get convicted ananyway because they need 66 votes. Who the hell? I don't know who thinks that's a good idea.
Well, so this part is hard for us in the independent media circles and trying to do this job in an honest way and trying to get the information out to people. When stuff breaks like this, people can get emotionally charged up, and I've seen it happen in our spaces right now. Like you saw, I mean, that big announcement on Saturday when Trump revealed we just took out these 3 nuclear facilities in Iran. We're basically declaring war on Iran, and I think that the emotional response is, oh, this is what we need to do. We need to align with the people on the left that have been in the streets for no kings, even though they've been a little kind of disoriented because they don't really know what's going on. They've been Trump's the next Hitler, but maybe this is the time we align with them and we get the people on the MAGAs that have had enough, and we do a real push and we call our congressmen and we tell them this is enough. He just declared war. We don't want this. We don't want this. But that's thinking in an emotional way. We have to take a breath, step back, and say, yes, okay, we understand that the captured left is going to do the Trump Hitler thing, but they're going to just do that. We can't really do much about that. That's their big thing. That's it. That's all they got. On our end, we have to be like, okay, let's step back, take a breath, and make a rational, kind of analysis about what is actually happening, and then look at the time we have. We only have so much time. We have to prepare our shows. We have to do our research. We got to talk to, have these conversations. We'll take time to do these thoughtful conversations and share stuff and share with people so they can share with people. That's what we're doing. And we can't be spending that time, wasting our time, energy, all of our focus on something that doesn't have a means to an end that we might think in an emotional state. So we have to tell our friends, and I've seen them all talk about it. Like on this weekend, it was bad. People were like, are we in World War III right now? I mean, very well could be, but that's not the best use of our time. Impeaching a guy where the vice president will, even if it works, which it won't. You're right, Garland. It wouldn't even work. He got out of 2 of them last time. But even if he did, okay, you're out. JD Vance, you're in. Little junior technocrat ready to go. Palantir, Peter Thiel, Alex Karp, let's do it. So you're not thinking clearly. Just because you thought it was a good idea to align all these people that feel very frustrated right now, it's not a good use of our time. We got to do better with our time, our energy, our focus, and make decisions out of rational state of minds, not emotional.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, he's going to be impeached in the Senate. You talk about the system. The Senate is the system at the highest order, and you're asking the system to correct the system. You really believe that this crooked, money laundering, warmongering Senate, they're the ones that are going to free us from Trump? Oh boy, things are going to be better. Who can fix it? I know. How about the Senate? That is the most absurd thing that I could ever imagine. Let me ask you this too. Here's something that's interesting. You're being around Hollywood, and you and I have discussed this. Let me give you a quick example. Before the so-called spring offensive, or whatever offensive there was the other year in Ukraine with the neo-Nazis, they advertised it everywhere. They literally had a trailer for it. This was a big Hollywood production about this offensive, right? Okay. And then, of course, they have it. Well, there was a movie called Top Gun Maverick. One could look at the recent action that happened, and one could look at Top Gun Maverick, and one could say they were warming us up. Am I supposed to believe that? Now, I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist, of course, because I say this. They made a movie about attacking another country, then they attacked another country just like they did in the movie, and I'm supposed to believe there's absolutely no connection. Now, clearly Hollywood's not involved in any miscreant activity with the intelligence communities.
Of course they're involved. with the Intelligence Committee. We've talked about this before. I know a lot of people, a lot of my colleagues and friends here in LA and Hollywood, they don't want to hear this. They just don't. They want to sell. They want to go to these summer blockbusters. They want to celebrate these Academy Award winning films, the Spielberg greatest generation of all. We're the good guys. Whatever it is, Saving Private Ryan and the rest. The American Exceptionalism, Forrest Gump stuff. But look, these films are absolutely not just signed off on by the CIA, not just approved. They are scripted by representatives from the deep state, from the CIA. And Top Gun Maverick is no exception. In fact, the timing of it is brilliant. It came out at a time where there needed to be this get everybody excited about America again, but not really against a particular enemy. And they're very good at this, right? They keep it a faceless. It's very racist, by the way. It's the non-white, the target. We don't even need to look under their helmet. We just know they're brown skin of some sort. There's some sort of thing that's not as good as we are, and we need to take them out. So they're not really human beings. This is the message that's been through so many films. By the way, way before the War on Terror, this stuff's been going on. You go back to Arnold Schwarzenegger, True Lies. I mean, this it's always is Islamophobia everywhere. So Top Gun Maverick is the plot that they were telling us we were going to be engaging in when it was time to take out Iran and get the manufactured consent of the people into war with Iran. So that is your plot. And so we see them celebrating this idea and going, oh, how cool is it that life is mimicking art? No, art dictated what life was going to be. It's not a coincidence. A lot of people think it's a coincidence. Oh, look at that. It just happened to be the plot. And so the other thing about Hollywood, we have to be a lot more critical of the things we celebrate here, because we're so willing to give Robert De Niro a microphone going up on a stage, and he uses his time to accept an award. He uses his time to say F Trump, F Trump. And everyone goes, yeah, but Trump is the character we're cheering on when we're cheering on Tom Cruise and we're cheering on Miles Teller. And this is the essence of that. The America first. We're the greatest. We're going to win. We're the hero. This is so how can you cheer that on and then say F you on the other end? And then when somebody like Michael Moore, we know the famous moment he went on stage to say the Iraq war is total BS, and he was booed off that same stage that Robert De Niro is saying F Trump on years later. So we have to understand there's a hypocrisy going on here about the things we get excited about and the things we get angry about. But it does show you that we can certainly be controlled by these films because they tell us what to emote, they tell us how to feel, how to think, and what to get excited about. So it's quite a lot of power they have over our psyche throughout our entertainment days of going to the movies.
Yeah, here's a book, The CIA in Hollywood, How the Agency Shapes Film and Television by Patricia Jenkins. I have some people that I know that are in contact with in the Philippines, and they told me about this movie. I think it's a Netflix movie, right? That's getting a lot of heat in the Philippines, and it's called Plane, right? And it's the Philippines. So it's a negative and accurate portrayal of the Philippines. So I went and watched this movie, right? And here's the thing. I knew it was, full of crap when the plane crashes on this island in the Philippines. And they said, yes, what's going on here? Oh, this area is run by Philippine separatists. I knew at that point that this was okay. In the Philippines, a country that really is nothing but a colony of the United States. The Philippines, a U.S. colony. They have no authority whatsoever. I had a friend of mine, my friend was telling me, when you vote in the Philippines, when you vote for Congress, they have 100 different NGOs and you have to vote for 20 of them to get representation. So American-funded NGOs get representation in your government. And you got to vote for them. Now, this movie, The Plane, they land, and there's separatists, right? Which are no doubt. So that's people pushing against the U.S. puppet government. They're complete mad, crazy people. All they want to do is kidnap the people on the crash plane. And they look like this all the time. get over there. And they punch people and they beat people up and they shoot innocent people. And then they come back to machine gun. They're angry. So they just want to machine gun all the survivors on the plane. That's just what they want to do, I guess, because they're separatists and they're evil. And there's a bunch of innocent men, women, and children on a plane. You just got to come back and machine gun them because that's how evil you are. And they all of their faces always are like this. Get over there. Pat, pat, pat. Beat somebody up. Pat, 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 shoot an innocent person. They take out a machete, just chop a plane. One of the survivors, just chop his head off for basically no reason, just because they're that evil. And I'm like, so they want to make the Philippine separatists look like these basically inhuman, violent animals who use indiscriminate violence for no reason at all. And I thought, they're probably not the bad guys. But how would Hollywood come up? Why would Hollywood want to come up with a portrayal of Philippine separatists as evil bad guys? And I'm like, somebody put that idea in their head, didn't they? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's quite a powerful tool, a mechanism with entertainment that you can get people. And we talk about this. Actually, this might also be important right now. When we share out, news stories, and we find little clips of gotcha moments and aha, like we want people to see them. I always tell our audience, be careful about sharing out these clips that aren't raw, that when somebody does a little edit and puts music behind it and then throws a text on it and tells you what to think, because people are they're going to see that coming, because it's not well done in a studio. It's somebody doing it at home. And I say, don't share that if it has music on it. Share find the raw version, because it's about the words that are being said. That's real life. That's like, hey, I want you to see this. I don't want to tell you what to think with music and text. So knowing that how powerful music and words and how you edit something, it really gives a lot of responsibility to Hollywood studios and the scripts that they're greenlighting and what's going out there, because people aren't as skeptical when they get the bag of popcorn and they sit down. They think they're just being entertained. So they're not in skeptical mode. They're in skeptical mode if you say, hey, I want you to see this. This is I don't want to see it. If you say I'm getting a ticket to the big Hollywood film, you're not. You go in very open, very vulnerable, because you're eating the popcorn. You're like, yeah, and you don't know that they're doing this. It's very deliberate, and it's not just painting, foreign countries as the bad guy and the interchangeable weird faces that they make, and they just have this inexplicable, just random idea of hate towards Americans. We just hate America. I don't know why, they just hate us. They have this other thing they do, Garland. This is a lot more deceptive. You have shows like 24, Homeland. These went straight through the 2000s, through the War on Terror. These shows, what they did, this deceptive nature of saying, we're going to show you what goes on in the CIA. We're going to show you what goes on behind the scenes of Homeland Security. And they're dealing with problems too. But all their problems seems to be with bad apples or infiltration from the outside. They never show that they're the bad ones that infiltrate others in bad ways. It's always an internal problem they have to fix and get that person out, get that infiltrator out, or the lead characters dealing with their own personal issues, like the Claire Danes character has to go through. Oh, we're rooting for her to fix her problems so we can get everything back to normal. And this is exactly why we're wired this way. Get rid of the bad apple. Get everything back to normal. So it's at that prestigious level of what America is supposed to be. And that's as far as it'll ever go with self-reflection. And no, we're showing you what goes on here, guys. No, you're not. You're giving us more propaganda that we're number one and everybody else is a far distant second.
Oh, absolutely. I remember, what was it? One of these 24 ones or whatever, at a time when they were trying to do the whole Juan Guaido and all that stuff. And one of those was he was working to stop some terrorists from Venezuela from blowing up the country or the U.S. or something with doing something, right? Now, the U.S. does all kind of terrorist acts against Venezuela. But in this movie, he was trying to stop Venezuela from doing what we were doing to Venezuela.
Yeah, that's... Sounds like a Israel move to me. Like a projectionism, anyone? That's very diabolical. And it's putting that subconscious, it's planting a seed in the audience who doesn't even know they're getting propaganda. They're just sitting there with their popcorn, or they're at home watching the streaming, and they don't know that that's just being kind of planted in them. And again, this is all about manufacturing consent for when the real thing goes down. Now the real thing's going down. We got to take out, and yeah, we got to stop Venezuela, right? We got to stop their crazy socialism, crazy communism. So this is what we do, right? We stop them because they're the ones that want to infiltrate us. Yeah. Okay.
Now, your thoughts on this conflict. We had this game played where I think where they screwed up is, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to do this craziness, and then Venezuela's going to collapse Iran's going to collapse in one day. And when it didn't collapse in one day, that Israel was like, that's fine, we'll just drag the US into it. And the US didn't get dragged into it so far. I think part of it is this. I think they, even as crazy as they are, I always say this, the one thing that the ruling elite fears is internal uprising and revolutions, right? That even they looked at it and said, crap, if we do this, the Straits Hormuz is going to close, everything's going to go through the roof. The people are online going bananas. This thing's going to fall apart with us. I think they're smart enough to know internally this crap's going to fall apart if we go do this and people are paying $12 a gallon. So I think they pulled back the reins for a little bit, just a little bit. But they're still moving forward. What do you think the next move for these monsters are, who clearly have not given up? That's a war. That quote, Trump's acting like there's peace, like the war is over. There ain't nothing over. They're still trying to overthrow the government of Iran.
Yeah.
And may, on any given day, start attacking or bombing it again.
So, yeah. So for your first part, Garland, we certainly underestimated. They certainly underestimated the military ability of Iran. They didn't see it being as successful in certain ways that it has been in its response, retaliation to Tel Aviv. We know that there's a chance that some of the spies, and we talked about Mossad spies infiltrating. We have plenty of that here in the Pentagon and in Trump's own cabinet. You got these spies, and he has to get rid of them or find them out. But in Iran, particularly, they stopped some of these. They actually were able to take a few of these down. There was actually I think that even the head of the Mossad in Israel was taken out. Nobody reported on that. We're looking into that one. I'm gonna do a little more deep dive on that one. But the head of the Mossad was taken out by Iran. This is no joke. They did not see this come. So how do you reposition your chessboard, right, to get your pieces back in place for the ultimate checkmate? It's going to be a little harder than they thought. Now, what's going to happen next? Well, we know there might be some false flag operations in place. This is where we have to, even though the reality is that if you get the American people on board for this vengeance mindset, that get the people over there so they don't get us here, which we saw with 9/11 and we saw play out on October 7th, this no red line policy. This you can get this to happen very easily by creating a false flag event. Are there sleeper cells all over our country right now in major cities? It's possible.
CIA sleeper cells. Yeah, there are.
Yeah. CIA working with Mossad sleeper cells. Yeah. So, but all designed so when the time comes, you activate your cells, and then you blame it on Iran, and that's how you get everybody on board. So we've seen this play out in different different ways in history, bigger events, smaller events. But in this case, it seems we might be heading into something on the 4th of July. We've heard a lot of talks, a lot of there's a paper trail about a few different things we've been sent. We've talked about a few different events that could come to fruition. We're not in the business of shock and awe, fear, campaigning here. We just want people to be aware that these things do exist. There is a manual that we got our hands on. It's a bioterrorism simulation that was done similar to Event 201 that occurred a few months before COVID. And we all know about Event 201. For those that don't know, Event 201 played out exactly what COVID was going to be. They did the entire, I guess you would say it was a staged event. In other words, to prepare for if we were to have something like COVID happen. But it happened exactly on point. Every media talking point, every lockdown, policy, they went through it all. a few months before it actually happened, and that's called Event 201. So this is a bioterrorism, national defense for bioterrorism event that occurred in April of last year, so 1 year before. And in this event, it says that there will be a false flag event, but they don't call it a false flag event. They say it's going to be something that a foreign entity does to us on 4th of July when we're caught, with our hearts on our sleeves, celebrating our big national birthday. And it's an event that would take out several thousand Americans in different cities. This is something that Dr. David Martin, he's the one that he came on our show, and we went through the manual. We've shared it out. We've gotten about 500,000 people have now seen it. We've shared this out to people on Twitter. You guys can go check it out. It's on my Twitter, Matt Weinglass. And yeah, this is being said as a simulation. So it's just it's just a hypothetical, just in case. We have to know how we're going to respond if 280,000 Americans are killed on 4th of July and if 400,000 more are infected. That's what it says. I'm not making those numbers up. That's in the manual. 280,000 Americans killed on July 4th, 2025, and for an additional 400,000 infected, whatever the infection is, whatever this thing. So this seems like it's a combo of COVID meets 9/11 all together. So you got the war on terror meets that we're all in this together, fighting a virus, a deadly virus. So that could be a form of a sleeper cell that could happen. So I just want people to know that this exists and it's out there. One more reference for you, if you guys didn't know about Event 201, and if you just happen to still think that COVID was a natural thing and it was not a NATO operation, if you guys still believe that, that's fine. But you guys must have heard of the Project of a New American Century, which took place 1 year before 9/11, right? Project of a New American Century. This is what if we were to get attacked. Cover of the pamphlet has the Twin Towers with crosshairs on it. Everybody in that meeting, which really existed, again, they'll tell you the same thing. That was a preparation protocol just in case somebody took out our towers with planes. And that everybody in that meeting, Dick Cheney, Rumsfeld, Wolfowitz, the whole gang, all the Bushes, although some say that W wasn't actually in the room, but Cheney was, and Jeb was in that room 1 year before. That was in August of 2000. So here we have yet another 1 year before, April 2024, this event happened. And now it's talking about what's coming on July 4th. That's just one example, Garland. There's a few others I've heard.
Let me show you one other thing.
Yeah, go for it.
What they did was they said, hey, there could be some bioterrorism event on July 4th, 280,000 dead, hundreds of thousands infected. Oh, what a terrible thing. July 4th. Well, I mean, how could you July 4th? Oh, wait a minute. No Kings 2.0 set for July 4th. Millions expected to march. But for what exactly? For a bioterrorism event, clearly. So they do an exercise that does that. Now, I might add, if you want to know, and I always continue to do this, if you want to know, who I wonder who's behind the No Kings. Well, if you want to if you want to see who's going on, let's see, where are we? Is this it?
Oh, who's funding the No Kings? Yeah.
Well, as example, man, No Kings, millions or across 1,500 cities to join July 4th. Let's see who might. Let's see who some of the spokes. Leah Greenberg and Ezra Levin, two arch Zionists. To a couple of arch Zionists, Greenberg and Levin. They are with indivisible.org. They're behind this whole thing. Certainly, clearly, there's no Israeli connection to this July 4th march. They've been behind the whole thing. They've been on TV. All of these marches, Greenberg, and let's not forget, they were the same people who she was with Tom Piorello. That was the guy she worked for years. And what did he do for a living? Oh, that's right. He was the CEO of Open Society Institute for Soros. And this other guy ran an NGO, a nonprofit that was funded by BlackRock. Those are the ones behind the No Kings protest. Certainly, there's not. Come on, people are crazy conspiracy theorists.
These are by the way, these are pro-war protests. They don't let anti-war organizations in. That's what happened at the first one. I'll be very clear, guys. If you don't know, the Walmart heiress, Christy Walton, she captured the first one, the 1.0 No Kings. I don't know if her involvement is still in this one, probably, but the fact that you brought that Zionist couple's involved now, and we know they did the hands off NATO, which literally was hands off NATO, and then the AOC, Bernie, fight the oligarch. They're not fighting anything. They're protecting the billionaire class. They are the billionaire class. It's an FU to everybody in the street when they print out signs that say stop the billionaires when they are the billionaires. It's remarkable to me that people can be in the streets with it. Now, look, we're not shaming protesters. We know that they're frustrated. We know they're scared. We know they think if we stop Trump, everything goes back to normal and everything's lollipops and rainbows again. But the fact is, when you tell them, and we told them, we got in the street with the first No Kings. We asked them, hey, did you know this was funded by billionaires? A lot of them were like, what? Like, they didn't know. And then when you told them, they go, well, does it matter? Does it make a difference? At least we're here. So they were being very like, oh, well, I guess that's bad, but we're here, right? Isn't that what's important, is that we show up? And I go, well, yeah, I mean, that's important. But if you don't know who's guiding this, and they asked me, well, what does it matter that they bought it? Who cares? We're out in the street. I go, because, and they go, what? And why would they buy it? They asked, one person asked me that. Why would they even buy this? That doesn't make sense. And I said, well, the reason is you control the narrative of your messaging, and then you stop anti-war groups from being part of the message because you're trying to protect the war machine. That's the point. Protect NATO, protect Israel, protect the Zionists. That's what this is. So yeah, go. Yeah.
Well, look at that. Okay. Yeah. No thrones, no crowns, no kings. Can I ask you a question? What the hell does that mean? You notice something? We're going to bring millions to the street, right?
Yeah.
Nothing, and say absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
No kings. It says we're going to reject authoritarianism since President Trump took office. That's it. That's it. They're not rejecting the wars.
No.
They're not rejecting anything about Gaza.
No.
Ezra Levin and Leah Greenberg, would you have any comment whatsoever on Gaza?
No.
Absolutely not. Well, what are you standing up for? How about the war in Ukraine? We just want to reject authoritarianism. And part of the authoritarianism is that Trump wouldn't go along with the war in Ukraine in the way that they wanted it. No kings. That means nothing. Millions of people in more than 1,500. No kings expect to be the largest single-day mobilization, a mass nationwide to protest rejecting authoritarianism, billionaire first politics. Now listen to this, and the militarization of our democracy. And when they say that, all they're talking about police. Nothing about military, the militarization of our democracy. What the hell kind of democracy is this?
It's not. This is not a democracy. And again, like, we try to talk to people about this, and like, and I want to be very clear again. We're not shaming protesters. We're for protesters, but we need to have the conversations and let them know when their movement's been captured. We had this conversation about the fight the oligarchy too. Like, if Bernie and AOC are having people arrested that have Free Palestine flags at his own rally, pretending to fight the oligarchy, something's wrong. We have to have this conversation with people, especially now, because we're talking about July 4th. This is another national attempt to get everybody in the streets. We don't know if this false flag thing is real or not. We just need people to be aware of it, that it exists. And also know one more thing. Look, if you're being told you can come to our protest, but you have to leave your messaging. I'm saying to organizers, if organizers have anti-war groups that are told you can come, but you have to leave your signage at home, that's a problem. That's a major red flag. People need to know that that's happening. That happened. That's what Christy Walton did. Walmart heiress did on the last one. They're going to do it again. They're not going to let this message get out about stop the real oligarchy, stop the real kings. And the kings are the bankers and the oligarchies that are running the actual war machine that's getting us into World War III right now. So the irony is crazy, Garland, that you're mad in the street about no kings without being allowed to be mad about World War III. It's so insane to me. But again, not to shame the voter. We just need to educate the voter / protester on what's actually happening.
Yeah, I'll put it like this. Nancy Pelosi spoke at one with Nancy Pelosi is slobbering in front of a microphone at your event. She's an arch Zionist. She's a warmonger. She's making hundreds of millions of dollars. God only knows how. You know what I mean? And I mean, of all people, if she's at your protest, it ain't a protest. I put it like this. So I have a funny feeling that they're not going to get any of those people at the protest this time. They'll all be home, or they'll be there in like one of those white spacesuits that the CDC wear, and people will be like, "Well, why is it that the people who are running the protests are all running around in white biotech spacesuits?" And they'll be like, "Oh, nothing really. We just tested them out. COVID. We decided we were going to wear masks this time. We wear an extra spacesuit, and then your ass is going to drop with some ungodly pathogen that." The Iranians are dropping. I think the Iranians are going to fire a missile right into the middle. There'll be a pathogen that is interestingly identical to one that is made at Fort Detrick, and then there we go. We got to go to war with the Iranians. They fired a pathogen from Fort Detrick right in the middle of an LA protest.
Yeah, man, this is so when we talk about, okay, being prepared for this, looking for red flags, obviously Nancy Pelosi showing up, whether she's in a hazard mask or not, we have to understand what these red flags are and just get away from that. Don't be part of that. If you see that, if you see something, say something. But look, this is, what can we do? People ask, okay, so if they have all this power to do this and we can't even have an honest protest, what can we do? Well, I do think it's about having the information. I think knowledge is power. And being ready for if a false flag happens, understand in advance, and you heard it here first. When they blame it on Iran, know that is not true. We're telling you right now, Iran has no interest in attacking us. They have no interest in attacking us. 100%. And there's no history of that. If you study the history of Iran, there's absolutely no interest they have in attacking us. If something happens, they're going to blame it on them. And you guys just need to be ahead of the game and know, I knew that was coming. Matt and Garland said that. If it does happen. And that's the best we can do is just warn people. That's what they have in play. One more thing. Can I ask you real quick, Garland?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. I'm good.
This, because we talked about the tail and who's wagging which of the dog and who's wagging who. We know that Seymour Hersh had uncovered years ago about one of the directives, one of the in the Israel doctrine they have, which is called the Samson option. Mm-hmm. Some say it's similar to what we have in our nuclear doctrine. We have the nuclear doctrine that we will go out, swinging, that we will unleash nukes. That's something that's very concerning. That's in our doctrine. But our doctrine is about unleashing nukes on our supposed enemies. It seems to me when you look at the Samson option, it's a little different. It's about unleashing your wrath on your allies. And so it's very clear in that doctrine that if push comes to shove, Israel has this is their philosophy. It's in the doctrine to initiate the Samson option means they will punish their allies. That includes the U.S., that includes Britain, that's France. So specific cities are mentioned in this. This isn't like, in fact, it's more specific than we just told you about the bioterrorism manual, which doesn't really say a specific city. It just says large populations. This one literally points out 4 cities in the U.S. It says Washington, D.C., New York City, Los Angeles, and randomly NORAD in Colorado. Those 4 locations in their doctrine. We've known this for years. This is not new. But when you stick that information with the new stuff we've gotten regarding July 4th, you start to wonder what is this? And do our elected leaders know about this thing? Do we brush it off because they'll never? That's not really. And we brush off our own thing too. We go, we wouldn't really be the first one to strike and just nuke Russia for no reason. But whatever, we'll ignore it. But is that something that I don't know, that concerns you, or do you think it's something that it's just there as a fear tactic? What is it?
Well, because of my belief that Israel is not an independent state with agency, I don't believe it. I think it's it is what, Nixon used to always call, the madman theory. I want you to think that Matt and I are going to talk with you. And I want you to think that Matt's a crazy person and I'm just trying to hold him back. I want to make you believe that Matt's a madman. He'll kill us all. So you better give me what I want, or you better give Matt what he wants, because ultimately he can't be controlled. He's out of control. I don't believe it. As a matter of fact, they got their ass kicked last week. They went up against it and they got the bloody hell knocked out of them. And there's nothing they can do. And everybody said, oh, as soon as Israel gets hit hard, they're going to get nukes. Nah, they weren't. They didn't do any nukes. They got their ass kicked and they begged for the U.S. to come in. I don't believe that Israel has the keys to its nukes. I believe the U.S. has the keys to its nukes. I do not believe for 1 second that, first of all, the fact that the U.S. is going to sit there and let Israel say, yeah, you know, if things go bad for us, we'll kill you. Now, continue to give us everything that you get. Sure, here you go. We've got to protect Israel. Why? Because if we don't do what they want, they'll kill us. I don't believe it. I think it's part of the game. And I think one of the things that happened in the last couple of weeks is we've been playing whatever you do, don't fight Israel, because if they ever get hurt, they'll go crazy and immediately started throwing nukes. I had people tell me, well, that's it, Garland. I will guarantee you this. As soon as Iran hits them hard, they'll nuke Iran. I said, I don't believe it. Oh, yeah, it's guaranteed now. Within a week, they'll nuke Iran. I said, I don't believe it. And what did they do? They got the crap knocked out of them, and they came to the U.S., and they also went to Russia and said, hey, guys, can you get us out of this? We're getting smushed. We can't keep doing this. But they didn't nuke them. Why? I don't think they got the keys to them. I think the U.S. has the keys to the nuke, and I think they're playing this game that says, I can't control this mad dog, so you better give them what they want. But I think Iran just said, well, if you're going to nuke us, you're going to nuke us. Because if you're going to nuke us, and Alistair Crook talked about it, he said, look, Israel's not going to do. He said Israel ain't nuking Iran. And when they said why, he said because Iran has in its mountains all these bases loaded with hundreds of thousands of missiles. Specifically, its dead hand move that if in fact Israel uses nuke, that those guys, if there's a nuclear attack, their job is to just start throwing nukes and to obliterate Israel, and then don't stop until you run out. And he said, and it could take 6 months, but to fire missile after missile after missile until there's so many of them, they're so deep in the mountains that there's just nothing you can do. So what Israel knows is if they ever threw a nuke at Iran, that would be it. They also know this, that what would happen is, and Iran had said, we will obliterate all of the oil infrastructure in the region. All of it's gone, which will then wipe out your global economy. You saw how these guys did when they started getting afraid that the Straits of Hormuz would close, because they knew the derivatives market would close. Ultimately, these billionaires don't want to lose their money, and they lose every dime of it. So my argument is, nah, I don't believe it. I believe it is a ploy that's used to scare people and to force people into doing what they want. And I think Iran tried them. Iran said, okay, well, if you're going to nuke us, you're going to nuke us. We're going to kick your ass and beat the crap out of them. They are hiding. I've read a lot of stuff. Israel's devastated. Of course, we're going to pay for it all. We know that. But Israel is devastated. I mean, their military-industrial complex is flattened. Power stations gone. Bases obliterated. They're in a world of deep and serious trouble right now, and they had to get out of that. But they didn't nuke them, did they? And they ain't going to. Anyway, but, I could be wrong. That's my opinion. We all have different opinions on it. But I take an opinion and I say, but I don't know for 100% that I'm right. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before.
We could both be right, because they're incapable of doing the thing that is written in their doctrine. Then that's great. That's great news. Does it mean if they were capable, they would do it? Maybe that's another question. But if they're incapable, that's great. That's good for all of us. That's great. That's great. So we'll just have to keep on this each day. Keep the conversation going. I guess I appreciate this. Your insight. It's given us some perspective, because we've heard from all around the spectrum what people think are going on. But I think the main thing is that we stop going at each other's throats, which we've seen again. The MAGA is going at each other, saying, "Say I was right," admit it. And it's like, come on, we're all in this together. Let's keep these nuanced conversations going, and just look a little closer at things and use our critical thinking. Rational thinking over emotional thinking. I think that's the lesson.
And it's not about me. That's why I say, when I take a position and somebody says, I think you're wrong, well, maybe I am. It ain't about me. What difference does it make? Whether what I think doesn't matter. It's good that we have a discussion. And it's good if I say, I feel this way, and somebody says, but did you ever think about that? That's what we need to do. Instead of like, well, I think this, and somebody says, well, I think something different. Well, you're wrong. You don't know that they're wrong. We need to keep listening, having these conversations. And I think it's important to have these conversations and to realize that the real bastards are up to no good, and they may have a false flag plan for July 4th. But if we talk about it and we tell them, that's the good thing. If they know we're on to them, sometimes it makes it less likely to happen, because they're like, crap, they're on to us. We can't pull this off. We can't get away with it. They're already talking about it all over the internet. If it happens, they're going to be, and they're going to show videos that said, I knew it. So we're doing the right thing. All right, dude. Don't forget, everybody, the Homeless Left. That's Matt Weinglass and his crew. You can find them on Rumble and at THL Presents. Now on YouTube. They're on YouTube. And so make sure you follow them there. Thanks a lot, everybody. Meanwhile, everybody who's watching, most importantly, share this on all your social media platforms. If you can afford to, follow me on Rumble and Rockfish and all of that kind of stuff, and Substack, and you name it. If you can afford to, that'd be great. If you can buy me a coffee or Patreon or PayPal or something like that. Even if you can, don't worry. The most important thing you can do is share this video on all your social media platforms. We're out.